This video not only contains spoilers for, but completely ruins Ending E of NieR Automata. If you have not viewed Ending E of NieR Automata, do not in any way watch this video. So after hearing numerous people rave about NieR Automata, I decided to pick it up once it went on sale on Steam. 99% of the game is a pretty good action bullet hell crossover that really works and has some great music. I went online to discuss what I thought was the most interesting aspect of the game, Ending E, but I only saw Writing on Games and Super Bunny Hops pieces that didn't really touch on the ending as much. I also read some blog posts that like to talk about existentialism, and while I don't disagree at all with any of the points that were brought up in these pieces, I don't think anyone did justice to Ending E. So I'd like to go second by second here and show how and why NieR Automata emotionally manipulates the player. To do this, we're going to talk here about what the player is supposed to feel a lot. I just finished playing this game this week for the first time, so it's still fresh in my mind. I was not spoiled, and I like to think I had one of the more normative experiences, but of course everyone's mileage is going to vary. Most of the plot of NieR Automata is delivered very forthrightly. It clearly does invoke that existentialism. It wants to talk about purpose, drive, existence, if anything's meaningful. And that's all evident in the names of the characters, the dialogue, the situations, heck, even Pascal quotes Nietzsche. What's a bit more interesting than the obvious references is that the large theme is enforced by the story. Nothing that the characters do over the course of the story matters in any type of larger context. The differences between the machines and the androids, as exposed by the revelation that they use the same core, don't matter. The pacifism of Pascal and his laudable and lofty ideals don't matter, as exposed by the children's suicide. The ideals of what the machines are fighting for doesn't matter, as exposed by the red girl turning against herself and perpetuating the conflict no matter what they're fighting for. The goals of the androids, just as well, don't matter. The humans are dead. 9S has nothing to fight for. And for what it's worth, this emotional state comes through in the cinematics and the story and the dialogue pretty well. But here's where Ending E comes in. It forces you, the player, to acknowledge and prove that something matters and something's worth fighting for. Ending E begins as the credits roll for the fourth time. You've just seen two climaxes where nothing really is resolved. Either everyone dies and the machines leave Earth, or everyone just dies. There's no redemption given, there's no catharsis to be found anywhere for the characters or for the player. I myself am feeling irritated. So far it's been a pretty typical sci-fi story, and I'm expecting a little more End of Evangelion third eye vagina symbolism, and kinda less cliche blockbuster plot swings. I like the characters, generally as much as those of any other narratives that I'm exposed to, and the gameplay was enjoyable but not mind-blowing. So seeing these credits roll, I even questioned myself why I went through playing this game. Heck, I probably could have had just as much fun playing Overwatch with my friends. Ending E begins as Ending D's credits are interrupted by the pods. They say that the data is leaking out. You find that Pod 042 has expressed some agency. This is actually totally in line with what the game does with the pods over the course of the last couple playthroughs, where they become more and more imperative with their recommendations, and more personified in their speech. Pod 042 says he has come to the conclusion that he cannot accept this resolution. This obviously works diegetically, that he would have some attachment to 2B and A2 and 9S after going through everything with them. But it's also your first clue that this is operating meta-narratively, or extradiegetically. I'm not accepting this conclusion. Those were two pretty bland endings, all things considered. Pod 042 accuses Pod 153 of wanting them to survive as well. Pod 153 remains silent, implying its consent. However, it states they lack the authority for such an action. This turns it on the viewer and makes it extradiegetic in a whole, or making the intradiegetic and the extradiegetic merge together. For the purposes of the story that goes on in the events of the narrative, you don't control 9S or 2B, they're independent characters that have their own agency. But that all breaks down here very deliberately. For the purpose of authorizing these pods to abandon their mission, this is you. This is you, the video game player, this is you, the person, on whether or not you want these two characters to survive. Now, on its own, this might come across as sort of a cheap trick to try and break down that narrative disconnect you feel with the characters in a story, because storytelling is traditionally a very cool medium in that you can't interact with it, you can't affect it, you can't get your own outcome. Even in something like we've seen with NieR where you're presented choices, it still doesn't amount to anything really. You can go back and get the other cutscene. And even this, when I'm playing it through in the first time, I think it's ostensibly another one of those choices. Maybe this leads to a different cutscene somewhere along the line, but it's still a choose-your-own-adventure novel. And in that way, it's still only just a way to get the true ending, or the right flag you have to check to go on to the next part of your visual novel. But from my experiences, seeing this, I think I click yes not because I want to 100% NieR or reach the true ending, but because I do really appreciate the character design, the voice acting, the plot, the setting, the graphics, everything that got me into this game. The game did it well enough that I consider the androids people, and I do want better for them. And then half because I'm still digging for whatever makes this a Game of the Year type game. This question, as we learn later, actually holds a ton more weight than that, but because it's such a low barrier to entry, I think many people just proceed as a matter of course. But I don't think any of us, myself included, are expecting this decision to have as much weight as it ends up having. Because, as we learn, clicking yes admits that you valued the actions that the characters took over the course of the narrative. By clicking yes, by saying, I do want them to have their happy ending, you implicitly say, no, it was not all in vain. That I appreciated their actions, their story, their tale, and I want them to have their happy ending. By clicking yes, you admit to the power of fiction, to move you, to affect you, to do something to you as a person. Because it's not the characters on the screen anymore, the pods broke down that barrier. It's you. It's you as a player saying, yes, this game was meaningful and worthwhile. But that's all just lip service, right? That's fine that you can say that, but do you really mean that? The pods do have a line of dialogue warning you that this is going to be difficult. And then Yoko Taro's name and position come up, and you realize that what you have to do to earn your happy ending is, of course, a bullet hell shooter. Now at this point I'm committed to see this through, and I realize what the game is doing all of a sudden. It's asking me to prove my choice that I made earlier. I realize now that I've never been good at bullet hell shooters. I don't like this genre at all, but with nothing else to distract me and my passion for seeing this good ending for these characters, I kind of get into a rhythm. The bullet hell's not actually that hard here. Still, my heart rate rises because I don't know what's going to happen if I can't do this, and likely I'll have to checkpoint all the way back at the beginning. And it goes on for a good 8 minutes at the same pace, during which time you'll likely have heard The Weight of the World in full in your native language. You'll have heard a woman, likely supposed to be 2B, talking about her past mistakes and everything. You'll have heard that this is a redemption song, and that's what you're acting out right now, the redemption of these characters. And symbolically, you're acting out the redemption of these characters against what these creators wanted to have happen. You're literally taking Square and Yoko Taro and Platinum Games and all their existentialism and nihilism and saying, fuck you, there was something there, and I'll shoot your names in the face to prove it. And as every minute passes, I get more and more tense that I might screw this up and have to redo it all. Then of course 8 minutes in, Square's name comes up, and the game goes from little dots on the screen to a full-on Ikaruga Toho shoot-'em-up mess. I still don't know how long this is going to go on, or what the penalty for dying is. I reckon it at least has to be the loss of the last 10 minutes of progress. So I'm understandably tense. I am literally trying my hardest not to die to any of these little red dots. I managed to get Square down, but now Business Division 6, and I take a hit, and I cringe. But I'm frantically tracking the little bullets everywhere, and it goes on, but I can't do it forever. And I take that last hit, I'm quite literally crestfallen. The message that comes up is, do you accept defeat? Still thinking I'm gonna have to do all of that again. Not really paying all that much attention to the quote in the background. I click no. I don't have an insurmountable amount of patience, but I'm not sure how far along in the progress I've gotten. I can at least spare 10 more minutes to try again. 9S and 2B and A2 are worth that much, I think. I immediately realize it checkpoints you back at Square Enix. I'm still 120% on my concentration and my focus. I've seen Toho, man. I know I can't do that, but maybe I can do whatever's required to give these people their happy ending. And maybe I get past character design, maybe I do better than I thought, I don't remember. But I die. and the screen comes up again. The music doesn't stop, it doesn't restart, it keeps going. A combination of that with the words, "Is it all pointless?" and then the words of encouragement in the background. And I checked, you can write dissuading messages, you can write mean things. But all I saw was, keep going, don't give up. And that's where I break down, and I realize what this is going to do. This is a pure test of determination. I start crying a torrent of tears. Not sobbing or anything, still determined, but just with water running down my face. And I click no, it's not pointless, and try again. But I don't get any farther this time. I know I can't do this. I know what it would take to beat one of these games. I know what my skill level is. And I know that this is the essence of futility. I could train for hours and days, and maybe I'd be able to make a little progress. But it's just too much. I don't have the skill to beat this. Not thinking about it at the time, but later I realized that's exactly what the characters were feeling in the story. This game presented a way where I could understand the futility that those characters are experiencing, and not just know it by osmosis or vicariously, but instead really, truly experience it. I'm defeated after 3 times through. I haven't quite been given the time to think about if I really want that happy ending at the end of it, the little cutscene that I know is there. But I know that I don't think that games are silly little things. This question enforces the fact that we've been made to experience what the characters were experiencing in the story. So I take the time to read the messages this time, still crying the whole way, from Germany and Canada and everywhere, and I play and I lose again. And the question that comes up this time is, do you admit there is no meaning in the world? And this is so low level, this is so primal. It's almost daring you to click yes. If it would have asked something like, well, you can't keep this up forever, do you want to surrender now? Or if it was the same as the one before it, or if there was any indication that the game had reached a state where it was going to loop until you actually did beat the bullet hell, then I may probably have given up. But no, the game asks you if there is meaning to this world. And the names of the people in the background grow more and more numerous. The music continues. And I have to keep going. And by now, it's not because I want to reach this ending or because I didn't feel that I got my money's worth. By now, that's all been stamped out of me. By now, I realize the weight of that decision earlier. I realize what the characters were going through. A never-ending battle that there's no realistic chance that they're going to win. But somehow, the entire weight of the world, all the meaning to all of existence, is contained in this battle, in this struggle. And that's enough payoff for the entire game's themes right there. But the game doesn't stop there. It gives that prompt. It says give up, no existentialism, no questioning your worldview. It says stop. I know I can't beat it. I could go on for 2 hours, I'm not gonna get it. And if this screen popped up with give up here one more time, I probably would have given up. But every time the names have increased, and they all, every one of them, in all these different languages say don't give up. Then the rescue offer comes in. I think, what does this mean? Is this another way to surrender? But I don't have any choice. I have to click yes, I can't beat this. Then of course the chorus kicks in and all the ships fly in. And if it was ever possible to cry more than I was already crying, I cry more. Because the video game has gone one step further to making you prove that everything has value. It's given you a reason to keep going on. Before this, the only reason for continuing is that the struggle gives existence meaning. That you're somehow caught up in this catch-22 of you have to deliver on the meaning and you have to therefore struggle. But now another alternative comes along. You are not alone. And that's the other people. And with the weight of all that emotion, you realize that's exactly the only thing keeping 9S and 2B going. You get hit and you cringe again because you don't even know if there's still a penalty or what's going on. And all you see is someone's data was deleted and another ship flies in to take their place. There's no context for that, so I didn't make anything of it. So I win, you win, and the game gives you the happy ending, your catharsis. The possibility of a better future. And I don't think NieR does too much with determination or free will, so I take this to mean something along the lines of an Utena ending or a Madoka Magica ending, where it's saying the cycle has been broken, and now there's hope that these characters can go on living. They don't show you them finding meaning or finding a purpose now in this new world. They simply show them being given the opportunity solely because of your actions and what you, the player, have done. Back when you said that you wished for them to survive and admitted the meaning behind everything that you've done over the course of the game, admitted the meaning of you playing the game, and then went and proved it, here's your reward. After that emotional roller coaster, this kind of brings you down. There's a lot of dialogue in these pods. While it's happy in some ways, it's not pulling at your heartstrings. You feel like you've finally accomplished what you set out to do. But there's one thing the game hasn't done yet, and that's make you prove the value of compassion or camaraderie or having another person there with you. They saved you, but how much did that saving mean? So you write your message, and at this point I choke up again. It was probably pretty clear by the players' names, but now you know for certain that someone went through exactly what you went through, and the final price is revealed. There's no thanks, you won't help a friend, but did that act of being helped mean anything to you? Did it mean enough that you would delete your entire save data? Or let's reframe it this way. Have you learned enough from what 2B and 9S went through that you're willing to demonstrate it? 2 times now the game has asked you to put your money where your mouth is in order to give weight to these themes. And that's what makes this video game so special. Is that it tells you this story, shows you the struggles and talks about the themes, and makes you connect with it. And any cool medium can do that just as well. You don't require any interaction. But by leveraging your interaction and forcing you to follow through to prove that not only did everything have a meaning, but also that having someone there to fight for you and fight with you has value as well. And I took 4 or 5 hits during the squadron sequence. That's 4 or 5 20-hour files that I deleted, that people gave to me just so I could finally see that ending. I used my 20 hours plus another 80 to 100 hours of playtime, maybe more. That's how much value the other people gave it. That's how much they valued my experience. The magic contained in this ending is that it forces you to justify everything. You and the other players of NieR Automata give the game its meaning. By playing it, by understanding what the characters went through, by sharing it with each other, you have infused the entire thing with meaning, and this sequence wraps it back around and shoves it back in your face. The game becomes something transcendent. It becomes one of the best moments in video gaming because you had to bring a little bit of yourself to the table, and you leave a little bit of yourself in the game.